Have you ever laid in bed at 3 in the morning, your mind racing through every possible scenario of something that might never happen? Or found yourself analyzing the same conversation over and over, searching for hidden meanings that probably don't exist? What if I told you that this exhausting mental loop isn't a personality flaw or something you have to live with forever, but actually a pattern that can be broken with one simple Stoic technique? Welcome to Imperial Mindset, where women discover the ancient wisdom that creates modern mental freedom. I'm here to share a revolutionary approach that transforms overthinking from your greatest enemy into your greatest asset, and it takes less time than brewing your morning coffee. Let me share something that completely changed how I think about thinking. 2 years ago, I was the queen of worst-case scenarios. I could take any situation and spin it into 17 different catastrophes before breakfast. When my boss would say, "We need to talk," I'd spend the next 48 hours convinced I was getting fired, rehearsing my defense, planning my next career move, and calculating how long my savings would last. Spoiler alert, 99% of the time, she just wanted to discuss normal work stuff. But here's what really got to me. All that mental energy I was pouring into imaginary problems? It was stealing energy from real solutions. I was so busy preparing for disasters that never came, I wasn't fully present for the life that was actually happening. That's when I discovered what Marcus Aurelius called the discipline of perception, and it literally rewired my brain. The ancient Stoics understood something that modern neuroscience is just catching up to. Our brains are prediction machines, constantly trying to anticipate and prepare for future threats. This was incredibly useful when we were avoiding actual predators, but in our modern world, this same survival mechanism creates mental prisons of endless what-if scenarios. But here's the beautiful thing about understanding this process. Once you see it clearly, you can redirect it. Instead of letting your brain run wild with hypothetical disasters, you can channel that same analytical power into productive problem-solving and confident decision-making. So what exactly is this powerful Stoic trick? It's called the reality check framework, and it consists of 3 simple questions that instantly separate real concerns from mental noise. Every single time you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking, you pause and ask these 3 questions. Question 1: Is this happening right now? This immediately brings you back to present reality instead of imaginary futures. Most of our overthinking is about things that haven't happened yet and probably never will. When you ask this question, you're training your brain to distinguish between actual current challenges and projected anxieties. Let me give you a real example. My friend Charlotte was spiraling about a presentation she had to give next week. She was imagining forgetting her words, the audience judging, her career being ruined. When she applied question 1, she realized that right now, in this moment, she was sitting safely in her living room with a laptop. The presentation wasn't happening. Her career wasn't in jeopardy. She was creating suffering about an imaginary future. Question 2 is, can I control this outcome? This is where the famous Stoic circle of control comes into play. You have 3 categories of things in your life. Things you can completely control, like your thoughts, actions, and responses. Things you can influence but not control, like other people's opinions or whether you get a particular job. And things you have absolutely no control over, like the weather, the past, or other people's choices. The magic happens when you stop wasting mental energy on categories 2 and 3 and pour all your power into category 1. Every minute you spend worrying about things outside your control is a minute stolen from taking action on things within your control. Here's how Charlotte applied this. She couldn't control whether the audience would love her presentation, but she could control how well she prepared. She couldn't control if technical difficulties would happen, but she could control having backup plans. The moment she shifted her focus from uncontrollable outcomes to controllable actions, her anxiety transformed into purposeful energy. Question 3 is, what's the most productive action I can take right now? This is where thinking transforms from destructive rumination into constructive problem solving. Instead of endlessly analyzing problems, you're immediately moving towards solutions. Most overthinking is actually decision avoidance in disguise. We keep thinking about something because we haven't committed to a course of action. But when you force yourself to identify one concrete step you can take in this moment, you break the paralysis pattern and move into your power. Charlotte's answer was simple. She could spend 30 minutes right now outlining her key points. Not perfecting the entire presentation, just taking one productive step forward. That single action broke her overthinking spiral and replaced it with momentum. But here's what makes this technique so powerful for women specifically. We're often told we're too emotional or think too much, but the truth is, our analytical abilities are incredible assets when directed properly. The same brain that can spiral into worry can also generate brilliant solutions, innovative ideas, and wise decisions. The key is learning to distinguish between productive thinking and destructive rumination. Productive thinking is solution-focused, time-limited, and leads to action. Destructive rumination is problem-focused, endless, and leads to paralysis. Let me share how this played out in my own life. I used to spend hours analyzing whether I should start this channel. What if nobody watched? What if people criticized me? What if I wasn't good enough? I was stuck in analysis paralysis for months, going in circles without making any progress. Then I applied the reality check framework. Question 1. Is this happening right now? No, I was sitting in my apartment thinking about a hypothetical YouTube channel. Question 2. Can I control the outcome? I couldn't control whether people would watch or what they'd think, but I could control the quality of content I created and how consistently I showed up. Question 3. What's the most productive action right now? Film one video and post it. That single framework moved me from months of mental spinning into immediate action. And here's the beautiful irony: the moment I stopped overthinking and started doing, the path forward became crystal clear. Now, I want to share the daily practice that makes this framework automatic. Every morning, before you check your phone or start responding to other people's agendas, you spend 2 minutes doing what I call a mental clarity scan. You ask yourself, what am I overthinking about right now? Usually, there's something lurking in the background of your mind, some worry or decision that's been consuming mental energy. You identify it clearly, then you run it through the 3 questions. Is this happening now? Can I control it? What action can I take? This simple practice prevents overthinking from building up throughout the day. Instead of letting worries compound and grow stronger, you address them when they're still manageable. You're literally training your brain to default to clarity instead of confusion. Here's what I've noticed about women who master this technique. They make decisions faster because they're not stuck in endless analysis. They sleep better because their minds aren't racing through imaginary scenarios. They have more energy for their goals because they're not draining themselves with mental spinning. They radiate confidence because they trust their ability to handle whatever actually happens. The ancient Stoics had a phrase for this state of mind. They called it ataraxia, which means unshakable calm. It's not the absence of challenges or difficult emotions. It's the presence of mental clarity that allows you to respond to life from your wisdom instead of your worry. But here's the most powerful part of this transformation. When you stop overthinking about your own life, you become incredibly present for other people's lives. Your relationships deepen because you're not distracted by mental noise. Your work improves because you're focused on solutions instead of problems. Your intuition strengthens because you can actually hear it above the mental chatter. I want you to think about one area of your life where overthinking is stealing your peace right now. Maybe you're analyzing a relationship, spinning about a career decision, or replaying some conversation from last week. Whatever it is, I want you to apply the reality check framework right now. Is it happening right now? Can you control the outcome? What's one productive action you can take today? Notice how different it feels to channel your analytical power towards solutions instead of letting it run wild with imaginary problems. Remember, Queens, your mind is your most powerful tool, but only when you know how to direct it. Overthinking isn't a sign that you care too much or think too deeply. It's a sign that you haven't learned to distinguish between productive analysis and mental spinning. But now you have the tools to make that distinction. The Stoics understood that inner peace isn't about having a problem-free life. It's about having a clear mind that can navigate any challenge with wisdom and grace. When you master the art of thinking clearly instead of thinking excessively, you don't just find peace, you find power. Which area of your life will benefit most from applying this reality check framework? I genuinely want to know, because when we share our experiences, we help other women break free from their own overthinking patterns. Hit that like button if this resonated with you, and subscribe because we're building a community of women who choose clarity over chaos, action over analysis, and inner peace over endless worry.